Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Tzav. And after God completed giving the instruction on how to perform the different sacrifices, he told Moshe to gather all the nation in front of the ohel moed, that they should all bear witness to the anointing of Aaron and his sons to be the priests who were going to conduct all the activity in the Mishkan. And after the ceremony took place, the command was to Aaron and his sons not to leave the Petach ohel moed, the tent of meeting, for 7 days. They were to reside there. And on the 8th day, there is the inauguration of the Mishkan, and the Kohanim, the priests, can begin their work, their function within the tabernacle. Now, what does this have to do with us today? I always like to connect us with the Parsha, and this seems not very relatable. But I think that there's a deeper meaning here that we can connect to. And it has to do with the fact that God had commanded Aaron and his sons not to leave the Petach ohel moed. Why does it say not to leave the opening of the tent of the meeting? Why doesn't it just say stay in the tabernacle for 7 days, and on the 8th day there would be this inauguration? Now, I think that we're supposed to hearken back to when we heard those words, to Avraham Avinu, our forefather, the one who God chose because of his stellar personality to be the forefather of all religions. And why did God want Abraham to be the father of our nation, the forefather? What was it about him? And I think the secret lies into this, with these words, that the Petach ohel, that just as the Kohanim are commanded there, it's to remind them of what they function, what their function is for the Jewish nation. And what was that? Same as Abraham. Why was Abraham sitting? Let's go back to the story. He was commanded to do a circumcision. And after circumcision, he was in extraordinary pain. But yet, what did he do? He sat at the opening of his tent. Instead of lying in agony in bed, drug-induced coma, like most people would do from that pain, he sat at the opening of his tent to see how he could serve other people. Now, this is the symbolism in this is so multi-layered, because the commentaries told us that Abraham was in the middle of talking, a conversation he was with God, and he left that to tend to the people. And the question always is how could God, Abraham is talking to God and he just leaves him to take care of some base needs of some travelers? This is a very holy moment. But I think that the reason why the verse tells us that he was sitting at the Petach, the opening of his tent, and this tent that represents his tent, also the tent of the tabernacle, is that it's symbolic, because just like God said, Asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, he says, build for me a sanctuary and I will dwell within. And that was the tabernacle that the nation had built at that time that we're talking about. But also this represents each and every one of us, that each and every one of us are to be this holy structure that God dwells within. And we, just like Aaron was commanded, are to sit at the opening. What does that mean, to sit at the opening? It means that we should connect with God always, our higher selves, our purpose, the good in us, and elevate ourselves. But we can't just do that and just live a life, this cloistered life, connecting with God as an individual. We have to let this be our guide. One step within, connecting and knowing what that guidance is of how to lead a good, moral, ethical life, and one step without, and saying, how can we use that in service to others to make the world a better place? So that's what the Kohanim were supposed to do. And there's no mistake with these numbers if you think about it. 7 days of sitting there after they had just renewed their whole spiritual self. They went through this chatat, this sin offering, and an elevation offering, and they had immersed. They are now spiritually reborn. And the 8th day is like the circumcision, like the Brit Milah of the Jew going out into the world now, after having made a covenant with God, to interact within the world, to do their godly purpose of service to others, of doing good for others, like God does for us. So that was the purpose of the Kohanim sitting there for 7 days before their inauguration on the 8th day. And this is like what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to understand that we are housing this part of us, the godly part of us that we need to connect with. So we need to always take care and nurture ourselves and our spirituality and what can make us the best person we are. But then we have to take that and have one step without, on the border, within and without, to looking to see how we can help others. Just like Avraham Avinu, just like the priests in the Mishkan. And that is something that the whole nation was to witness and to understand and to take with them, because really we're supposed to be a nation that is a nation who has Am Kadosh, Mamlechet Kohanim, this priestly duty for the rest of the world, to do good for the rest of the world. But it takes all those components. And so with that, I hope we can all try and connect a little bit more to our authentic selves and take that on into the world and help those around us. Shabbat Shalom.